Okay, so the purpose of this video is to explain a little bit to foreigners, non-Brazilians, how things work in Brazil so that we can, in the second video, talk a little bit about more details in how to open MEI, which is MEI, Empreendedor Individual. It is a sole proprietorship in Brazil, but quite honestly, after you understand a little bit how Brazil works and some of the things behind it, I think it helps you understand why MEI is such a good option, why it is important to have MEI instead of not having anything, and some of the legal aspects, okay? We don't always, from one country to the next, have a good translation. And of course, if you're watching this video, it's because you have some interest in Brazil or you live in Brazil. So I will explain some terms, but I will use them in pretty much the original format. With some examples, I'm American, so the examples will be American. But let's go ahead and get started, and then I'll try to explain in a way that we can understand. It's really not complicated. It's just to help you understand the reasons behind some of this stuff. Okay. So in Brazil, we have two different ID numbers. Okay. We have a CPF, which is a physical person. It would be comparable to an American Social Security number. And it is directly tied to Social Security benefits, stuff like maternity leave and retirement or disability pay. Okay, so then we have one that is for legal entities. Okay, it's called a CNPJ. It is basically any company, association, organization, anything that would be a company type. Okay, so that would be kind of like their tax ID number. Both of these are directly tied to your Social Security and also to the Brazilian IRS, which is called the Receita Federal. Receita Federal, okay? So for tax purposes and stuff. So everybody and every company or entity has a CPF or a CNPJ. Even if you're foreign, you can have a CPF or a CNPJ, okay? You don't have to be Brazilian. There is a second Brazilian ID number, which you have, which would be more like specific to being Brazilian or one for foreigners, but it's different. So we're not going to talk about that. That doesn't involve any of this. So basically how things work in Brazil is that theoretically, every company is required to present documentation for every penny that enters and leaves their bank account. Obviously, this doesn't happen, but theoretically, legally, it is required. So it comes down to the Receita Federal, the Brazilian IRS, to basically audit and make them do that. Obviously, the smaller companies are less worried about it than the bigger companies because they feel like they're not going to get audited, but anybody could get audited, and any little minor detail can cause big financial consequences on the other end. So since every single company is required to present documentation for like the appropriate documentation, not just any documentation, for every penny that comes in and goes out of their bank account. Every sale, whether that be some item that you're selling, like a store, if you have a store and you're selling products, or if it be services. Maybe I'm a company that provides services. And regardless of that, anytime I am making money from selling something to someone, product or service, I require a nota fiscal. They abbreviate it NF, okay? A nota fiscal, like fiscal note, what does that mean? It's not a receipt. It's different than a receipt. A receipt basically just says this person paid me for that thing. But a nota fiscal actually goes tied into the Receita Federal. And the purpose of a nota fiscal is to inform the Receita Federal that this person charged that person, whether they be physical people, individual people, or legal entities, companies, associations. But this one charged that one this much. Regardless of if the person paid, maybe they didn't pay in full, maybe they paid in 4 payments. It doesn't make any difference. This one charged this one some money, and that's what goes to the Receita Federal. Okay, the Receita Federal wants to know and requires this information because they will then tax you based on how much you make. So if you obviously don't inform that you were making money off of these people, then they're going to be charging you less taxes, which, you know, comes out to tax fraud. But in theory, you are required to inform them every time you make a penny off of anybody, okay? So, how does that, obviously with the nota fiscal, those can be emitted with a CPF on them or a CNPJ or without. So if I'm a company and I'm selling you some milk, I'm a store and I'm selling you some milk, you're buying some milk from me, I'm going to give out a nota fiscal, whether or not you give me your CPF or your CNPJ, because I'm informing the Receita Federal either way, right? But if you would like, you can put your CPF on it, and that's just informing the Receita Federal. Not only did this store sell this amount of product, but this is the person who bought it. Okay, so in theory they want you to do it, but you don't have to. It's not required to create a nota fiscal. So how does this work with what we're talking about? The transition is primarily when we're moving into employees, okay, in hiring. The companies are required, obviously, to provide documentation for everything that comes in and goes out. So when we're talking about money that is leaving the bank account, okay, I'm paying money as a company. My company is paying money. I just had some money come out of my bank account. There are 3 documents that the Receita Federal accepts to show what I'm paying for. Okay, what is that money going towards? The first one is a nota fiscal. Okay, obviously the money's going out. I'm not making money on this one. I'm paying somebody money for this one. So I need to show the nota fiscal from the person or the company that I paid. So in that case, let's say the milk that the client is buying is not for her family. Let's say she's buying milk for her company office for the refrigerator for the coffee. Okay, so she's buying some creamer or milk for coffee at the office. It's an office expense. Okay, so something like that. In that case, the client, okay, she's buying as a company expense. So the nota fiscal she's going to take it back to the office, and that's the nota fiscal that will go to the accountant that will show where that $3 went to. Okay. They have a nota fiscal to show for it. Or in a case of like services or something, let's say that someone had to come in and fix the air conditioner. The guy who comes in and fixes the air conditioner, he's going to have to give me a nota fiscal so that I can show where the money went that I paid to that guy. I just spent $600 on something. Where did it go? Oh, it went to the air conditioning fixer guys. Okay, he gave me the nota fiscal that goes to the accountant. The second way is a registered employee. Okay, let's say I have 1,500 reais going out of my account on any particular day, but that goes to an employee's salary. Then in that case, if that employee is completely registered legally, then there is no problem there. It's already all in the accounting stuff. So that's the second format. A side note on this is that, which does come into play later on, is that Brazil has so many laws and so much in favor of employees. And there's so many different benefits that they get that we don't get in America. I don't know other countries. Things like if you're working in a company for a year, you get 30 days vacation. Right. Like Americans would die for that. And also they get paid salary, not hourly, not, every 2 weeks. It's once a month. And so you'd think 12 salaries for 12 months. No, they get 13. At the end of the year, they get a 13th salary, and they call it the 13th salary, but it's a right by law. Okay, so what happens is there's so many different benefits and different things that the company has to pay for their salaried employees that a lot of times people try to cut costs because it really is extremely expensive for these companies, and a lot of companies just can't make it because of this. Okay, so that'll come in later when we're talking about MEI and why they would want to hire MEIs and why it would be beneficial for you to have MEI instead of just being some self-employed person. And if you're not, assuming you're not a registered employee, okay? So the third way that I can, as a company, have an expense is there's nota fiscal, a registered employee. The third way is an RPA. It's just it's a receipt that an accountant will make with a self-employed person's data on there, and then it's required to deduct 11% and a little bit more if there's services off of what they made, which of course causes another problem because you got some self-employed guy who's coming in and painting your office, and he's not going to want to get 11% less, and you're not going to want to pay him without a nota fiscal, because then you are out there, if the Receita Federal decides they want to audit you, you have a payment with no documentation behind it, and you're not going to want to pay 11% more just because he wants, because you need the documentation, but he wants to make his full amount of pay. So you've got a catch-22. You've got a problem. So what happens is MEI comes into effect and is very handy because it regulates, ever since 2008, it was a very good idea. It regulates all of these unregulated self-employed people, okay, because it guarantees that all of these people, they're not just self-employed people getting paid under the table, at least we say in America, under the table, basically off the radar. They're not getting paid off the radar, okay? They're not a bunch of self-employed people who are not paying into retirement. They're actually officially okay and totally legal, and this is a perfectly wonderful option for these people who are doing this not in an okay manner before. So they're now regulated. They're not going to get to retirement age in theory without retirement. If it's a woman, she's not going to end up without maternity leave. She has those rights. Or someone who's been paying and they get disability if they need that at some point. Okay. It's just a sole proprietor. We call it in English, in American English. And it's a way that companies now can hire a MEI, which is a Empreendedor Individual, okay, so it's a sole proprietor. They can hire that person because that person now is a company. That person is a sole proprietor. They have a company in their name. They not only have a CPF because they're a physical person, but now they have a CNPJ. So that person has all the rights a company has, even though it's just a one-person show, okay? But if I have MEI and I want to paint this guy's office for cheaper because the company who does the painting company, they have to pay employees, they have to charge more because they have all these expenses, right? So they need to charge, let's say, 4,000 reais to paint your office. But I am a sole proprietor. I have MEI. I can give you a nota fiscal, which is what you need for your accountant. So you're happy. I'm happy because I can then get your business and not lose you to the big companies. I can get your business because when I was just self-employed and off the radar, you wouldn't pay me, but now you will because I have a nota fiscal I can give you, okay? And then that way also you don't have to worry about who's going to pay the 11% for this self-employed guy, because I need documentation and someone needs to pay the 11% of his, Social Security. He doesn't want to pay it. I don't want to pay more. So who pays for it? Well, now you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so in an example, let's say now I am the painter. Okay, let's say before I didn't have MEI, I was just self-employed. Legally, I am required to not only pay for taxes, but also Social Security. So before, I used to have to pay two things. So if I charged 2,000 reais on a job, I would, according to the sliding scale now, 2019, I would have had to pay 143 reais in taxes and 20% for Social Security, which nobody paid. Nobody paid. So that would be 400 reais. So the 2,000 I charged, I only have 1,457 in my pocket. Where did the rest go? It all went to the government. Nobody did it. So now if I have MEI, I can make a limit. MEI is a limit. You can only make up to a certain amount, 81,000 a year, 2019, but that changes every year. So that's roughly 6,750 reais per month. But I only pay one time. I get one document, I pay it, scan it with a barcode, and you pay it, and it's only 56 reais. 56 days, and that's it. And that's for everything included. And I'm legal, I'm legit, I can do notas fiscais. Everybody's happy. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to talk about how the benefits, the pros, the cons of MEI, and all the things you need to consider to open it.